Have you ever told yourself, I'll make a decision once I have more clarity? Maybe it's about your career, about a promotion. Maybe it's whether to stay where you are or pursue something new. You tell yourself that you just need a little more time, a little more information, maybe a little more certainty. It sounds responsible. It even sounds smart. In fact, most high-achieving professionals believe clarity comes before action. But after years of working with executive leaders and professionals, navigating career transitions, I've come to a very different conclusion. I'm Elizabeth Suárez, an executive coach who turns complexity into clarity. And I have noticed something fascinating. The people who gain clarity the fastest are rarely the people who spend the most time thinking. Instead, they're the people who start moving. Now, before you misunderstand me, I'm not suggesting reckless action. I'm not suggesting you quit your job tomorrow or you make major decisions without thinking them through. What I'm suggesting is that many people are waiting for a level of certainty that simply doesn't exist, and that's what keeps them stuck. Let me explain. Most of us were taught that successful people make confident decisions because they have clarity. But what if we've got that backwards? What if successful people gain clarity because they make decisions? Think about your own life. Did you know exactly what would happen when you accepted your current role? Or when you got married, if you were married? Or when you moved? Or when you became a parent if you're a parent? Or even when you started a business? Of course not. You had information, you had instincts and hopes, but you didn't have clear certainty, and you still moved forward anyway. And the clarity emerged afterward. That's because clarity is not something you find. Clarity is something you create. And that leads me to the first of three things I want you to consider when it comes to clarity. Number one, clarity is often a byproduct of movement. Most people think, well, think, then act. But in reality, it should look more like think, act, learn, adjust, think again, act again. The professionals who move forward fastest understand this 6-step cycle. The professionals who stay stuck are usually trying to skip it. They're trying to think themselves into certainty, and certainty is rarely available. The second thing I want you to consider is that overthinking creates the illusion of progress. This one is especially common among smart people because smart people know how to analyze, research, gather information, create spreadsheets, and develop the most amazing pros and cons list. And while all of those things have value, they can also become a hiding place, or what I like to call it, a socially acceptable form of procrastination. I once worked with a professional who spent nearly 2 years trying to decide whether she wanted to move into a leadership role. 2 years where she read books, attended seminars, spoke to mentors, took assessment, heck, even hired me as her coach for 3 different engagement periods. And then one day I asked her, what information do you believe you're still missing? She couldn't answer because the problem wasn't information. The problem was fear. Fear disguised as preparation. And I think many of us do that. We convince ourselves we're still gathering data when what we really are doing is avoiding risk. And number 3, the third thing I want you to consider is this. Small experiments create more clarity than big plans. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is believing they need a grand solution, a complete roadmap, a 5-year plan, a perfect answer. But what if clarity doesn't come from planning your next 5 years, from testing Instead, it comes from testing the next 30 days. Instead of asking, should I completely change careers? Try asking, what can I do this month to learn more about what I really want? Maybe it means having a conversation you have never had, shadowing somebody at work, volunteering for a project, attending a network event that you have been avoiding, leading a committee, you name it. Bottom line, movement creates information. Information creates insight. Insight creates clarity, and clarity creates confidence. That's the sequence, not the other way around. So if you're feeling stuck today, I want to leave you with a different question. Stop asking, how do I get more clarity? Instead, ask, what action am I avoiding because I wish I felt more certain? Because that answer may tell you exactly where your growth lives. And here's what I have learned after years of working with professionals who are trying to figure out what's next. Clarity rarely arrives before action. It usually shows up after. If you're feeling stuck or uncertain about what's next, don't stay there. I've created a career clarity assessment designed to help you identify where you are, what's getting in your way, and where your next opportunity for growth may be. You'll find the link below. And if you're interested in more conversations like this, conversations that challenge how you think, so you can move more strategically, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Until next time, remember, clarity rarely arrives before action. So stop waiting, start moving, because clarity changes how you think and how you move. See you next time.